The mob of men kept following. Were kicking me. They were threatening to rape me.
I want someone to bend you over and fuck.
They were yelling at me to go back to Palestine.
It was just crazy that I was Jewish and I got assaulted. And I wanted to confront Ben-Gvir that night.
You're a terrorist, Itamar.
On April 24th, a far-right mob attacked people protesting Israeli Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir's visit to Crown Heights, Brooklyn. It's been over 3 months, and the NYPD still hasn't charged anyone. Now, the victims are suing the city. Who do you hold responsible?
I hold the police accountable. And it looked like just the police were just standing there.
I moved over closer to the police, thinking that that would afford me some safety, but the police didn't do anything.
I sat down with 2 of the women who are taking legal action. One of them wasn't even with the protest. In the claim that you filed, you say that police treat protesters disparately depending on their viewpoints. Could you explain?
I wasn't there to protest, but there was a protest that night. The people who were inciting violence faced no repercussions by the police.
And, it's important to note that you weren't even there to protest. Could you walk me through what happened?
I was at home that night and I had heard a helicopter hovering, and I was curious about what was going on. And when I got to Eastern Parkway, which is very close to my house, there was a woman who started yelling at me. Someone had a camera nearby, and so I pulled a scarf up over my face because I didn't want to be filmed by anyone. And that seemed to, either that or the woman screaming at me seemed to draw the attention of this mob of men, who then came over and encircled me. They were getting in my face, they were threatening to rape me.
Is that you? You want someone to bend you over and you like they're doing to the Jews in fucking Palestine?
They all had strobe lights, and this was all really disorienting. As I was walking away, trying to get away from this group of men, another officer from somewhere else came over and attempted to escort me home. They were just shouting the most vile insults, yelling that I was a waste of semen. I quickly realized that I couldn't actually go home at this point. I couldn't lead this mob to my house. These men started throwing a trash can and a traffic cone at me. The police officer I was with didn't seem to be able to get anyone to come help. And so finally, a police car pulled up in the middle of the street, and I had to run through this mob. When I got in the police car, they asked me where I lived, and they drove me home, and they didn't ask if I was okay. They didn't ask if I wanted to file a report. They just dropped me off in front of my house and left.
What has been the police follow-up?
A few days later, after the video of this attack went viral, a detective reached out to me to ask me what happened and ask if I wanted to file a report, which I did. I've reached out to the detective who is working on this case, and every time I talk to him, he doesn't really give me any updates except that they're still investigating.
Even though their faces are plastered all over social media on these videos.
Yeah, it's interesting because they told a journalist that anyone could call the Crime Stoppers tip line with information about the people who attacked me. And I know for a fact at least one person called and tried to give them information, and they didn't take the information from her. They just said, we already have names, and wouldn't take any information from her. It gives me doubts about how hard they're actually investigating this case.
The only way that Mayor Adams could ever be the best candidate for public safety is if he understood that New Yorkers don't want their tax dollars to be used to fund genocide.
This is Eric Adams' tweet responding to the incident on April 24th. We urge anyone with information to contact NYPD immediately. We also ask the women who were assaulted to come forward. And what ended up happening?
I received one call shortly after. I think someone from the hate crimes unit contacted me. He told me that if they find the person, they'll get an order of protection. And that was the last I ever heard of them. But I think after that phone call, Eric Adams immediately went back to Twitter and said he's located someone. And that was the last I ever heard of it. So it sounds like it was just for Twitter.
I was just confused, like, well, why? Because the police were there and they saw everything that happened. So why are you asking us to come forward now?
How has it affected your ability to feel safe in your own neighborhood?
That moment that I was being assaulted and threatened and chased down the street in the neighborhood I live in, and I couldn't go home and I had nowhere to go, it really made clear to me in a very visceral way the experience that Palestinians go through every single day of being attacked in their own home and not having refuge, not having anywhere to go, having no other place and no safety.
The perpetrators identified in the videos will likely be named in the coming lawsuit, along with the City of New York, Mayor Eric Adams, NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch, and the Chabad Lubavitch headquarters, which hosted the event for Ben-Gvir.
I mean, the day I was hurt, the people who protected me were the pro-Palestine community. The people who attacked me that night were from my own community. What's supposed to be my own community. I really wouldn't consider Chabad headquarters my community anymore. Said that I grew up going to Chabad, which is true.
So there is a concerted effort to say that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And I wonder what your perspective is as an Israeli American who frequently attends protests for Palestinian rights.
As my original post said, I found it very ironic that everyone was celebrating that I had gotten hurt and laughing at me because they hit a Jewish person. The equation of anti-Semitism with anti-Zionism, it's not true, and I'm proof of it because I'm a Jewish person who doesn't support genocide, who was hurt by Zionists who love genocide. That night reminded me how much Zionism is a threat to everyone, including Jews, because unless you fit in the Zionist box that they want all Jews to fit into, will always be at risk of getting hurt by people who uphold genocide.
There were a lot of people in the comments asking, what if it had been a mob of 100 Muslim or Palestinian men? What if the roles were reversed?
The New York Times would be covering it nonstop. The ADL would say that there's a 200% increase in anti-Semitism, and it would be me. I would be the 200%. It would just be an endless coverage.
Black people and people of color have done far less and received far worse treatment than the mob of men who assaulted me that night. And I think it's just very obvious how differently these groups of people are treated.